as we scan the landscape, we see a lot of different interesting things. There's a bird nest up in that burned out eucalyptus tree. There's an old home that looks like it burned out in the previous fire, perhaps 10 years ago. And as we scan the landscape further, you'll see the eucalyptus trees are kind of up the riparian canyon area. As you go and look into the hills, you can see the ceanothus chaparral that was 10 years old recovering quite nicely. And as you drop down, you'll see a lot of these ceanothus shrubs are all kind of curled over, hunched over, almost like they're surfing on the ground. This is a characteristic of ceanothus chaparral after it burns. And actually, these plants start looking this way when they're severely drought stressed and they die. They kind of curl in on themselves. So when you survey an area and you want to know what kind of chaparral it was before it burned, this is one of the features of ceanothus chaparral. It's got this curled appearance. What we have here is a 10-year-old ceanothus chaparral stand that had recovered slowly from the fire 10 years ago, but it burned in 2007. So it only had 10 years to recover, and as you can see from the surrounding skeletons, which are all ceanothus for the most part, ceanothus verrucosus, they weren't that big. In my hand, what I have are charred but unburned leaves of ceanothus verrucosus. And what that means is this was not a hot fire. The other factor is probably important too, and that is after 10 years, these plants probably didn't have enough seed dropped during that time period to have a sufficient seed bank to recover. Here is one ceanothus verrucosus seedling in this area, and I see a couple more in this one particular space. But typically after a fire in a ceanothus stand, you'd have dozens of these little seedlings. We're just not seeing that in this particular area because of the fact there just wasn't enough time, which was 10 years, for the ceanothus to drop enough seeds. What we do have here are a lot of native wildflowers that have come after the fire. There's Paris Phacelia, a really beautiful purple flower. We have some crypthantha, which is kind of a small, diminutive little white flower. There's some wild cucumber that's resprouting from the underground root, which is not responding to the fire at all. It's just you can see it really well because the ground's black. Well, we do have some species here that are common in chaparral, such as laurel sumac. We have the yucca. We have the wild cucumber. And, of course, we have the native annual wildflowers. What's happened now is a big component of the chaparral has been removed, specifically the ceanothus. With these repeated fires that are too close to each other, you're removing, step by step, important species within the chaparral ecosystem. Now the question is, what's going to fill the void? Well, I can predict probably in 3 or 4 years here, when there isn't the growing chaparral shrub canopy, which would have been recreated by the ceanothus seedlings as they got larger and larger and larger, what will probably fill the void will be non-native invasive weeds.